So please give it up for Anna Perez. Everybody can clap.
All right, thank you guys. How's everybody doing? It's a little hot in here, huh? So how many of you guys have heard of Design Sprint before? Oh wow, that's a lot. That's fantastic. How many of you guys have heard of Agile development? Okay, yeah, whole room. I figured. Cool. So think about design sprints and agile development as parents, and the product is their whining and crying baby. Oh, is this thing working? There we go. So, like any baby, you kind of nurture it, you want it to become a beautiful child, and you got to think about your products in the same way, right? So these two processes combined will, help you execute great products. So, what is a design sprint? So, basically, it's a way to solve and test problems in about 5 days. So, the biggest thing about design sprints is really about getting buy-in, right? Buy-in from your users, buy-in from your internal and external stakeholders. You got to basically get all these people on the same page so that you don't go down the road of building something over 6 months, right? And putting all this time and effort in, and then only to find out that it doesn't work, or it's not something anybody wanted or needed, right? So design sprints help solve that. They foster team collaboration. We think that, everybody's got great ideas. I mean, how many of you in this room have had your ideas fall on deaf ears at times? I think that we all have, and I think if we can all have a voice, then everybody feels like they've been included in the process. So, who uses design sprints? Well, Google, Facebook, Uber, just to name a few. Obviously some very impressive companies on this list. But it was created by these guys from Google Ventures. You guys probably heard of them. They came up with an amazing process that they started using in their startups. And it was so successful that they actually launched it at Google, all across the entire company. And now they published a book, got it here actually, Sprint. And this is actually now a New York Times bestseller. So if it's any indication that this is catching fire at this particular moment, something I highly recommend taking a look at. And that's why we've been implementing this process of time. So what's a sprint actually look like? Well, if you read the book, this is what it essentially looks like. 5-day process: Monday mapping, Tuesday sketching, Wednesday deciding, Thursday prototyping, and Friday testing. I have to tell you, this is really tough. If you're not a small startup, you work in a large corporation like Time, it's impossible to devote 5 days and clear everybody's schedule an entire day just to do this process. So I sort of devised a plan. I broke the process in about 2 weeks, still 5 days. Every other day, you meet for about an hour. And I think this is a better way to approach the problem when you're working in a very large company. So we're going to go through some of the steps in just a moment, but what's your team look like? Well, a bunch of pigeon heads, of course. Really, the people that are the makeup of the team, about 5 to 7 people is ideal. Many times it will expand a little bit larger than that. I've had no more than 12 maximum, but as condensed as it can be, the better, to be honest. So who's involved? The decider. This is likely your boss, a decision maker, someone who at the end of the sprint can say, absolutely, this is the way we're going to go. The facilitator. This is your sprint captain. They're going to facilitate the entire sprint. They're like the master of everything and make sure everybody's on the same page. You have your design expert. This is the person likely going to design and build your prototype. And then you have a tech expert who's going to help guide them. They may be involved in the actual building of the prototype, but likely not. We want to stay away from getting tech involved, at least on the work and development side of it. And then you have your experts. This could be a product expert, this could be a salesperson, this could be a customer expert, anybody who's going to really aid in the process of developing your prototype and coming up with ideas that really suit your users. So, how does design sprint work? Well, like magic, of course. No, but I wish it did. but really, I've identified this 6-step process. It's very similar to what they talk about in the book, but these are a little bit more granular. So let's talk about each one. Identifying the problem. I like to say that this part of the process actually takes about 2 weeks ahead of your sprint. Right? We talk about 5 days. That's the actual sprint. But ahead of it, you're going to want to do a lot of user research, right? So this is stakeholder interviews. This is competitive analysis, benchmarking. This is looking at your users' current data, if you have it. If you don't, try to see what your competitors might be doing in the market and see if they have published data that you can utilize. And with this data, you're going to actually write down every single problem that you encounter with this particular feature or product that you're building. And what you're going to do is on your first day of your sprint, you're going to write all of this information down. Put it all on the whiteboard so that everybody can see, so that nobody knows everything, the thing is. So you're going to share this info, and you're going to break all this stuff down. So how do we do that? The process I like to use is called How Might We? And this is something that was created by IDEO. And the idea is that we create one big goal, in this case, an example. How might we create a better mobile photo gallery? And then you have smaller sprint questions that you're going to want to answer. So let's take a look at the first question. How might we increase page views in our mobile photo galleries? Well, to be honest, I don't know. And I don't think anybody in the room can definitively say that they know the answer to this question. So that therein lies an assumption, right? We assume that we might know the answer, but the truth is, the answer is going to come from our users. We're no longer thinking about things like, oh, yeah, totally, this is the right way. We think that the user thinks this way. This is a really silly approach. Test it with your users. See what actually they are doing and what their behaviors are, and you're going to actually get the right answer. So, next step in the process, we talked about our problems. We've identified a few. Now we're going to sketch solutions. So, we're bringing the whole team together. The team we talked about before, deciders, right, the experts, tech leads, design leads. Bring them all in the room. We're going to sit them down. We're going to give them a few things. We're going to get a clock so everybody can see it. We're going to get some stickies, and we're going to get some Sharpies. And everyone's getting one. Right? I don't care if you say, oh, I can't draw. All right? No, it doesn't matter. Good ideas come from everyone. Whether you're drawing stick figures or Picassos, it doesn't matter. So everyone gets a sticky and a Sharpie. And we're going to spend 10 minutes sketching solutions to problems that we've written on the board. So after these 10 minutes, everybody's going to pin their designs on the board, and they're going to present. They're going to get 2 minutes to present every single person in the room. No one's going to say anything. Silently, they're going to think in their head, okay, I like that feature, I like this one, maybe they'll write it down. And at the end, everyone's going to get a little sticky. And that sticky, they're going to actually place on the specific features that they like that people presented. And then together, they're going to be able to see a visual heat map of all the things that performed really, really well. They're going to talk about them. They're going to decide which features to actually build in the prototype and test. So, step 3, designing the prototype. Some of the tools we like to use, Sketch. If you are not on Sketch, you must start learning it. You are already behind. Sketch is fantastic. I've changed completely my workflow from being 90% on Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects to 95% on Sketch. And I did this in about 2 weeks' time. It took me about 2 weeks to really master it. It's a fantastic tool. It's improved our workflow tremendously. Our entire team is using it, and our entire company now. Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, they're also great supplementary tools. So if there's something that maybe you can't communicate in Sketch, I recommend using those as well. So the truth is about building prototypes is that when you do so, you just need a realistic facade to test with users. You don't need to actually build something with code just to show somebody how something works, right? You can just build the basics, show them how it works, and get real feedback. And then you don't have to involve your development team, who's got much more important things to do. So realistic facade's all you need. Building the prototype. So we just talked about that. So what are the tools that we use? Well, we like UXPin a lot. buggy sometimes. They're working on it. Envision, also a very nice tool. They also have a million amazing plugins for Sketch, which I highly recommend, like Craft. And then Keynote, the book Squares by Keynote. I still haven't used it for a prototype, I have to admit. But some people just absolutely love it. And there's a lot of other great tools out there that I haven't mentioned here, but for sure, whatever suits your needs, gets the job done to just evaluate with real users what the prototype can actually do and test. This is what you're looking for in terms of a tool, and it doesn't need to involve development. So, step 5, user testing. So we're very, very fortunate at time. We have a whole team dedicated to this. They're totally pros. And they totally have all the equipment. We set up rooms, we have live streams. It's amazing. I'm so grateful because this is such a hard part of the process. But if you don't have any of those things, there are groups that you can go out and hire to do this for you. Or there's some great videos online that Google Ventures actually publishes on the YouTube page that teaches you how to do this for a really low cost and teaches you sort of how to moderate and get some examples how to do it. But you want to not introduce bias, right? So we're going to find 5 unbiased users that fit your target market that we're going to want to test with. And I say 5 very specifically, and they talk about this in the book as well, that you're going to get about 80% of the answers that you need out of 5 consumers. So there's no reason to really waste time or money with somebody else if you're going to get 80% of the answers, and the rest of the 20% are going to sort of flow in afterward. So, step 6, learn and repeat or put it into development. You've collected all this feedback. Now we're going to actually put it back into the prototype because you're likely going to have to make changes. I mean, there's never been a time when it's just created something and it's gone completely through 100% and there's been no changes. Every time you're going to make changes, the question is, are you going to put that back into testing? Is it worth the extra lift? Usually not. Usually I just say, let's build it. So we build it, we put it into the real world, and then we're going to marry our qualitative metrics with our quantitative ones. This is a really important part of the process. If you're not marrying these two things together, then you're really not succeeding in your product, right? You need your products to actually see these two metrics measure up or marry up, and then you're going to know that you've actually achieved success. So, design sprints, they solve problems big and small. Whether you're building Facebook or just a small feature, right? It doesn't matter. You could even be building a new coffee shop. You can use design sprints to solve these problems. So, how do I get started? A few resources for you. We've got the Sprint book, like I mentioned, really excellent, highly recommend it. Google Ventures has a great blog on Medium. They do a really nice job explaining this entire process in much more detail. And then the Google Ventures YouTube page that I mentioned before, also really great examples. And finally, that's it. Thank you.